Second. All righty. Welcome to the Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council Special Board Meeting. This is a joint meeting between Traffic and Safety and the Education and Schools. Today is February 23rd, 2021. A few important reminders. This meeting is open to the public via the web or over the phone. Board members only will appear on the screen, while all public attendees will be on audio only. Everyone is normally muted except when given the floor to speak. All members of the public may provide comment to the board on each agenda item and during general public comment. When an agenda item is up, the board president will ask for public comment on that item. Use the computer controls or phone controls to raise your hand, which will allow the board president know that you wish to make comment. How you raise your hand. If you look for the raise hand icon on the Zoom window that looks like your hand, and click on it, it'll allow you to be put in the queue, letting the board president know that you wish to speak. The board president will then call upon you to speak when your turn comes up and will open your audio connection. At that time, you can provide your comment to the board. There will be a timer that will let you know your remaining time and your time is up. Please do not go past the time allotted. If you're using a telephone, please use *9 to raise your hand. It will appear, and then I will know that it's time to allow you to come in. And the same will proceedings will prevail. Let's see, this meeting is recorded and will be posted to our web. You will see, if you need to see the gallery, just click on the panel that looks like a checkerboard, and that'll allow you in. Is there any procedural questions before we start? Anybody? I'd like to make one comment to everybody, and that is, please be courteous. If someone is talking, let them finish, or let me at least give them a heads up that they're running over, and allow other people to speak. It's important that we are all courteous to each other and not speak over each other. On that moment, Laura, would you mind doing roll call for me? You are muted, Lori. She said 1 second.
I don't have it. I don't have the list. The typical list. I meant to have it and I don't have it. Apologies.
On that note, what we will do in the interim, since we are missing it, and I'll pull it up in a second.
Sorry about that.
Why don't we go ahead and just, I will ask for board members that are here at this time. David Balin, present. Becky Levesque.
Present.
Thank you. Asad Al-Najjar.
Present.
Thank you. Jason Hector.
Present.
David Lasher.
Present.
Lori Joy.
Here. Present.
All right. I know we did it a little bit backwards, but at least we know who's here, and then I will go back and I'll make the adjustments later on. I just would like to move forward.
You get Hassan?
Note, excuse me?
Hassan.
Oh, Hassan, are you here? There you are. He was muted. Hassan?
I'm here. I'm having some technical difficulty with internet here. I'm here.
All right, we're all looking good now. Okay. On that note, let me just reach out for item number 4 for representatives and elected officials for city departments. Okay, moving on. Let's move on to item number 5. There is a presentation about COVID-19. We're going to learn about the symptoms, prevention, and common facts on the coronavirus, what you need to know about vaccination benefits, COVID-19 vaccinations, myths and facts. David Lasher.
All right, let me share my screen. Can you guys see that? Yeah, fantastic. Good evening, everyone. How are you? All right. So there's a lot of information going on with COVID. There's a little bit of misinformation too. You probably heard about the issues this week with the city and having to shut down some vaccination sites due to a lack of vaccine because of some logistical difficulties with materials coming in from the East Coast because of some weather. Those have been predominantly solved, and those places will be back up and running very quickly with the city. The odd thing was the county wasn't really affected, which is a little strange, but either way, the most important thing I wanted to go over tonight, we're going to go over the the numbers currently, and also some Porter Ranch specific issues. So first off, let's look at where we are in terms of the numbers. So as of the 21st, this is within the last day or two, the numbers are trending down very nicely throughout the area. We've got, in terms of positive tests, the 7-day average from the 15th to 21st. From the 15th, you can see it is still trending downwards, and that's continuing happily over the big spike in January. The daily reported percentage of tests that are positive is also tremendously, it's positive news, trending tremendously different from back at the end of the year. With respect to screenings and testings, there are a few sites in our right within Porter Ranchers 1. You see where I have my chart. Oh man, I had a chart up. So there are 2 locations within 3 miles of Porter Ranch. And if you draw a circle from the center of Porter Ranch, the one that's truly within Porter Ranch is the UCLA Health. They are doing testing, no screening, but testing only, with testing by appointment only, and you need a physician required referral. So there are a couple important things. There's a phone number to call there at the bottom for information if you don't have a primary care physician. And this is a viral PCR test. So this is right up in on Rinaldi, right there across from Vinelands. The other location, which is in Northridge, closest to Porter Ranch, but not in Porter Ranch, is one on Plummer Street. So it's way south of us, but it's within 3 miles. That's the only location for testing in our direct area. And this is drive-through testing through it's a COVID clinic run down at 19400 Plummer Street. And there's a phone number at the bottom there. So hopefully, I'm assuming you see it's 877 C19 for COVID-19 tests. So very easy. As of the 4th, well, this is the numbers are up from the 4th of February. We were at 1 million of vaccinations. We're now at 1.6 million, almost 1.7 million. So very, again, trending very positive. The second dose numbers also up from 204, doubled plus to 471,000. So there are a couple of important websites here. This is the most important one, myturn.ca, and I don't think that's right. I think it's myCA. No, it is, because CA is Burbank. So it should be ca.gov. myturn.ca.gov. I thought that period was wrong. It's correct. This is how you sign up for the free vaccination. It's the turnkey location for the state. It is the location to go. There are other ways to do this. There's some newsletters you can sign up for and some notifications, but myturn.ca.gov is the state's preeminent site to get get registered. And they're going to ask you a couple of basic, easy questions with respect to your eligibility, in terms of age and some other groups, in terms of your occupation, if you have other underlying health concerns and the like. With respect to the percentage have been vaccinated within Porter Ranch. Now, they didn't break it down by Porter Ranch, but you can see it includes all of Granada Hills. We're in the highest category, greater than 18.7%. And the next lowest, it drops down to the next tier, just to our east in San Fernando. The Northridge is a bit lower. And the county, when they brought this map, did not put any kind of nomenclature in terms of lines or maps and all, but you can see clearly that the breakdown there is, you can see where receipt is in the middle. So we're still, that whole portion of Porter Ranch is all green, 18.7 or higher. So that's very good. The county's website for vaccines, if you notice there in the middle, there's a vaccine newsletter. You can sign up for that. And that's some great information on how to get up-to-date information. They're going to send you this vaccine newsletter through the county. That's a county product, county information there. Currently, 2 things, very big thing to note at the top there. Residents with disabilities or without computer access can call 833-540-0473. And that's 12.5 hours a day, 8 a.m. to 8:30 p.m., 7 days a week, to get assistance with appointments, because this is part of the tier. If you look at who's getting vaccinated now, We're in phase 1 with 3 million people vaccinated. They're vaccinating healthcare workers and long-term care residents. This should not be a secret. It shouldn't be a surprise. It's been this way for quite a while. We are also doing phase 1B. That's an estimated 12 million people. Those are, as supplies are allowed for, again, individuals 65 or older, and then some sector populations, education and childcare. And if you didn't hear about that this week, they are allotting 5% of vaccines for teachers. That's an agreement. I don't know if it's the state or the county, but it's an agreement with the teachers unions and some entity, whether it's county or the state, but they are going to step up the vaccination specifically for teachers and other school personnel so they can get the schools reopened. And then beyond that, of course, emergency services. I don't know many, I work for City of Burbank, for example, and all of Burbank's firefighters have been vaccinated. I don't know of any frontline fire ambulance personnel that have not been vaccinated, but it's still possible those are who they are, in fact, still vaccinated. Now, beginning March 15th, so just over a month away, just over half a month away, March 15th, they are going to start opening us up to the other category of those that are at a very high risk of getting sick, but aren't part of that category 1B. And that includes things individuals with Down syndrome or heart conditions or diabetes or severe obesity.
Hey, David.
Yeah.
There was a question for you really quick.
Sure.
What is the acronym PRC?
Oh, that's a good question. I'll let you know in a minute. That's the type of test. There are 2 or 3 different types of tests. And that is one of them. I think that's not the deep antigen test. I think that's
PCR.
Yeah, I don't think that.
Preliminary chain reaction. It's a chemical.
It was asked by Sherry Dearhunnian. Thank you.
That's the type of test they're administering. There are 2 or 3 different types of COVID tests. There's one for antigens, antibodies. So you could have had it before and they will test for that. There's a spike protein antigen test, for example. Those generally are not being provided for free because they're not really directly assisting the community to see if you have or don't have COVID. They just prove if you had it before. So the PCR test is the main test they're using. It's also a rapid test. So that's the one they're using for rapid diagnosis. In addition, if you have a result of a disability or developmental disorder, disability, and you have the likelihood of developing severe life-threatening illness or death from COVID, you can get the vaccine as well. Especially the last one I noticed there, if you're providing care, if providing adequate care will be particularly challenging as a result of the individual's disability, they can get scheduled for a vaccination on the faster track starting March 15th. And again, you want to call that, you want to call the 833-422-4255 number or myturn.ca.gov. And then beyond that, let's see, you also have to find out again if you're eligible. And when you log in to MyTurn, it's not really a login, but when you click on that link at myturn.ca.gov, they'll say, it says check your eligibility, and you'll check that eligibility and it will roll through a couple of questions. We are doing, as you notice, I've circled LA there, marked LA. Healthcare workers and individuals 65 or plus in LA can now book appointments for vaccinations. 3 important websites again, myturn.ca.gov. The second one is the county's, that's the state's clearinghouse, the covid19.ca.gov for vaccination information. There's a whole plethora of information on the vaccines. The last link there is the public health link from the county. And that's their main coronavirus webpage. It says media because it's a public information page. So these are the big 3. I made myturn.ca.gov larger. It is again the predominant turnkey website for the state of California for our residents. Talked about the phase 1 there. We had this. The other thing I wanted to mention is with the VA. The VA is doing vaccinations, especially for individuals that have previously been cared for by the VA. And that generally means folks that are older, but they are doing some vaccinations for people that are not in the highest category, but that have seen previous care through VA. So if you have a VA card and you can get down to West LA VA Center, I'm not sure if they're doing it at Sepulveda, the VA hospital on Sepulveda near Lassen, but the West LA location, they're doing that. And you would go to the website above there, va.gov, and then healthcare, and something like, I'm not gonna repeat the whole URL there, but va.gov. And then even on the front of the VA website, there's a large list of information to get to their COVID site, their COVID vaccine sites. That's the same thing. Caregivers for veterans that are being treated at the VA can also get fast tracked for a vaccine. They must be enrolled in the VA's PCAFC program, which is their program of comprehensive assistance for family caregivers. And the veteran they care for must be currently eligible for a vaccine. So that's pretty much that's the big information in terms of the numbers, how to get a vaccine, how that is happening. There's also a very large, I've got the list of LA County sites. It's 20 pages. It's real thick of just all sorts of data on where you can get the vaccine and a list of a lot of pharmacies doing it. I went through it, tried to find Granada Hills, and I didn't find one Porter Ranch, but I did find some Granada Hills. That's mostly like the Rite Aid, some pharmacies in Granada Hills and the like. But I can go over that if you like. But the bottom line is that it's 20 pages of information. There's also the City of LA pods, and those are high density locations like Dodger Stadium, the Crenshaw Christian Center, Hanson Dam has a location, and the like. And this is, you go through the county's website to get that information. With respect to the other agenda item in terms of more the symptoms and prevention, I understand we have someone else that maybe be able to speak more to that. I don't know how much, we're a year and a half into this. I would hope people know what the symptoms are, but of course a fever and then some coughing. The only other prevention I think I mentioned is we're now pushing a lot toward the feds are one, Dr. Fauci want people to double mask. And the like. I guess the more important thing is have a decent mask. People tying handkerchiefs around their face. It's not cutting it. It's not effective. It's a simple cloth barrier. Even the filtration system, maybe not N95, but it's not the most effective way to stop the virus. Those sleeves people use for like when they're camping for mosquitoes and things like that are like almost like a neck gaiter. They have the same problem. They've done some studies with those and they're also not as effective. But that's pretty much where we're going with everything. Where trends are looking good. I will stay on top of what's going on with Porter Ranch in terms of when vaccination sites are open closer to us or here. Cal State LA opened a site. We might be getting one at CSUN, but for the moment that's up in the air. And that is what I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. I'm going to open up to the board before I open it up to the attendees. Board, do we have any questions for Mr. Lasher?
Jason.
Jason was nodding his head. Go ahead, Jason.
No, I just wanted to add, because I got an update. You can hear me? Okay,
Yes.
I got an update from the school, and they're going to be, right now, they're doing vaccinations at Roybal, which is downtown, but they're going to be opening up March 1st, Panorama High. So Panorama High School will be doing vaccines. So that'll probably be mostly for the teachers to get their vaccines. So I just wanted to share that. I just found that out.
Other thing I did, hold on, sorry. The one thing I did.
And
Am I
the
muted?
pods,
Never
the
mind.
pods,
Go ahead.
I've been helping people get appointments. The pods have been very successful. And I heard Pierce College today, somebody got an appointment there. And one of the tricks is go in around 10:30 when you try and get a vaccine appointment, because in the morning there's virtually no appointments. I've been checking, but you do check throughout the day because they add appointments as the day goes on, and I guess as they get allotments. So just wanted to share those comments. Thank you, Lasher. Good job.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Hector.
I'm gonna-
I would mention one thing. I don't
Go
know
ahead.
if people are following this. I think we're in a much better position to get the vaccine. Logistics aside, with the state and those problems, we're not having the weather of Texas. My mother's 80 years old and had to drive on icy roads to get her second shot. So we don't have that challenge. There are other challenges, but there's a big problem right now. And that in the last couple of days, a number of codes were released, special access codes that were provided. Now, the codes were supposed to help certain zip codes. I'm not really loving how this is being done, but apparently some folks were given the codes, didn't know that they were supposed to be for folks in areas where there have been much higher concentrations of the disease, and they used them. Some people knew, some people didn't. There was also a situation with Northridge Medical Center where they gave some vaccines to a private school. They thought they were doing the right thing. The reality was at some point, I think the CFO of the Northridge Medical Center, his children went to that school, and they got their hands slapped heavily by the state and the federal government for violating the distribution policy on COVID because they're not teachers over 65. And about 46 teachers got vaccinated. So be careful, be ethical. If the code is a code for folks that are disabled, don't use that code to get the appointment. Do the right thing. And as much as we all want it, and need it, I would much rather happily step aside so my 80-year-old mother can get her vaccine and not jump the line using a special access code for someone reserved for the disabled.
Thank you. I want to reach it out really quick to the attendees to see if any of the attendees have any questions for Mr. Lasher. I know that we have Dr. Nardella on the line. He's quiet today. Okay. All right, then. Interesting. Okay. Then if you guys don't mind, let's move on to item number 6. It's a presentation by LAUSD with updates on safety measures in place before returning to campuses, teachers, and staff vaccinations and school opening timelines, what schools districts must address for safety measures and other considerations for returning students and staff to campuses. Miran? You're muted.
I don't think he is. I don't see the mic symbol. And he's not.
Can you hear me?
There you
Yeah,
go.
now we
Yes,
can hear you.
yes.
I did reach out to Scott Schmelson and I invited him over this session today. He did accept it, but the next day we did receive an email from his district assistant that there is a conflict regarding the appointment. I did reach out to other schools, and I'm hoping that later on, probably one of them might attend later and make a comment. You're muted, David.
David, you're muted.
I muted myself. I like that. Then what we will do, I guess we will move on to item number 7. If somebody does come in, Miran, let us know. We'll go back to item number 6. On that note,
Unless
Asad,
Mehran
I'll turn it over to you.
unless Mehran has any briefing or nothing.
I
Okay.
just turned it over to him.
I can say a little bit about that if you want, because I just got an update today. But go
You're on?
ahead.
Go ahead, Jason, go ahead.
Go ahead,
Oh,
Jason.
well, the reopening is really just for a lot of the staff and the teachers who want to teach from their classroom. Some teachers want to teach from their classroom, and for the maintenance staff to return to school, and then the special needs children to return to school as well. So that's pretty much what the reopening was. And I think they set a 25% goal by, I think it's March for reopening, but it's targeted for kindergarten.
Right.
So it's going to be the, I believe it's kindergarten. They want to get 25% of the students back in school. In discussing, this is going to be tough because, they want to get vaccines first. And then the problem is it takes 30 days, right? So you get your first vaccine and then you get your second vaccine. So, these are projections, I think, but that's really the updates at this point, and everything is like fluid at this point. So that's what I heard.
Yeah, that's good. And let me just add that UTLA is still there negotiating on the terms and the conditions, and they haven't yet reached out to any agreement. And then hopefully by the end of this week, they will clear the way how they will provide the service for the special need and how they will provide the staff of the maintenance to come into the schools. But UTLA is still, they are in terms of negotiation, that still it's not complete when they will come back.
I do
Okay.
have a question from Sherry Dearhoney, and I'm not really sure if it's a question or it's input on this discussion. Sherry, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you. Go ahead.
Thank you, David. I wanted to thank you for all the great information on COVID. I also wanted to give a word of appreciation for Jason Hector. I know several of my friends that are over 65 that live in the immediate area were having a really hard time getting appointments, and Jason went ahead and got them appointments, and he's been very helpful with the senior citizens, making appointments for them that were having trouble navigating the system and so forth. So hats off to you, Jason, and thank you, David, for all the useful information.
Thank you,
You
Sherry.
you're welcome.
Yeah, just to clarify, what I do is I'll contact them and help them, get it, and then they get sent to their email, and you confirm the email and all that. But it's been difficult for people to make appointments, to find appointments. They're very hard to find. So I think it's important for us to help people who aren't savvy with the computer or don't have access all the time, if they're working or not. I mean, this is everybody who wants a vaccine should be able to get one. So thank you for the kind words, Sherry.
Let me ask you a question, Jason. Do you feel that this is something that we should reach out to the senior community and open this up and try and facilitate getting appointments?
Well, like the same way that we were asking people what they need help with
During COVID for food and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think that if people are having difficulties navigating the system, figuring it out, getting appointments, I mean, I'm certainly happy to help, to volunteer. And if I do find their appointments, then what I do is just call them on their cell phone, and then they'll send them a text, and I get their name, and I get all their birthday and everything like that. So I'm happy to help, but I don't know. I'll leave that up to like you and Lori. I think it's up to you guys, but I know
I think we'd be able to. I think we'd learn more about you because you've done a trial run on it a couple times so far. So maybe you would lead, and we would help on that. I have no problem if we reach out to the community and for seniors and asking if they're having difficulties to reach out to us, and we would try and facilitate getting them an appointment. I like the idea. Wait, I do like
I mean,
it.
it's up to you guys.
I
happy to
second
help,
on that. Yeah, I second on it. It's a great idea.
All right, and I'll work with you on that, Jason. So maybe
Well,
we can
yeah,
get Lori
maybe-
to post it, and we can just attack it and do our best. I mean, that's all we can do.
What do you think, Lasher?
Are you guys gonna go online too and make appointments, or are you gonna filter all of that to Jason, who's gonna have a huge job on his hands?
No. I said we just said that I would work with Jason to do that.
Oh, okay, so you'll help make the appointments then?
Of course.
Not,
No.
okay, well,
yeah.
I'm asking a question.
Yeah. No. I wouldn't expect it to be only Jason. Matter of fact, I would like any board members that want to get involved and to just say, hey, I'll help you out. So I'll be more than happy. I like it, Jason.
It's just a matter of like contacting people and talking to them, because like Becky's friend, Becky referred somebody, and then like I kind of helped her a little bit, and then she figured out, and then she let me know, oh, I got an appointment. So a lot of it is just maybe just answering people's questions, and kind of pointing them in the right direction. And if people don't have computers, or maybe they can't, assisting people who can't get to a computer, who are having trouble or frustrations, maybe you kind of like Lasher showed all the websites, you make sure they're going to the right place, that kind of.
That's where I was going with that. I think we can, I don't know how the logistics are issue if like individuals like me might say, hey, put our phone number out there. You can call this number between 1 and 4 on Sunday, or we can take turns. But in some methodology, it'd be good to have a lot of folks that are older, don't have computers. My mother's a 28-year school teacher, 4th grade. God bless her. She's great at teaching, but she barely knows what a computer is. It's a challenge for her to turn it on. But people could call the phone number we could give out, and then maybe we could have one phone number for them, and then call between this period of time, and we'll take your information and register you by entering the information at myturn.ca.gov for them.
The
That
phone
would be
number
the
is
easiest
good.
way.
Oh, sorry.
No, go
That'll
ahead.
help with the phones. Either way, whatever assistance they need,
It's a
especially if they don't have a
discussion,
computer.
'cause this is a joint meeting. So go ahead, Jason. This
Oh.
is just an idea of, you know, how
Well,
we
the
can do
phone
this.
number is good to provide, you know, because I haven't called the phone number personally, but I think that at least people who don't have a computer can get on the phone. So maybe Lori, if we want to, we definitely want to share the phone number. And maybe if we reach out to people who are having difficulties getting and want a vaccine, they can email, you know, the board, or they can email like communications. If you just give an email, then that'll come to a central email on the board, and then we can decide like how to help them if what they need. You know, maybe they need the phone number, maybe they need I don't know. I think it's good to reach out to people and just see what their needs
So
are.
maybe we can put this on our website and our newsletter. You know, how can we help? Can we help by setting up an appointment? Can we help by giving you the proper emails? Can we help by giving you the right phone numbers? You know, a lot of people are very self-sufficient, but then other people need help. Just a thought.
David, there is a question in the chat.
I
You
know,
wanna take it?
let me take it from Lori, and then I'll go to Michael Ward right after. Lori, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I have no problem, you know, posting as whatever we can as far as the phone numbers and so forth, but typically if I'm posting it, it's either on our Facebook page or in our email, which people means they have computers and they're already doing something, right? I'm wondering if we should spend some of our money, which we haven't spent much of anything. You know, we could put what you were saying about the 1 to 4 p.m. hours, you know, give it a time slot for anybody who wants help, you know, registering. Or when's a better time when when appointments might be available, or Jason's available, or I'm available, or
You know,
whoever.
Short
We
of the
could
proximity
post it-
issue.
Wait, I'm sorry.
Sorry,
We
go ahead.
post it maybe as an ad in the Valley Voice or something that is more print oriented, or something out there that where people could find it. I'm just kind of, I'm not against posting it on Facebook or in our email blasts, but that usually is going to people who already have a computer and understand probably how to do this.
It would be great to have a location. The distancing is an issue, but it'd be great to have a table outside of Starbucks, maintain the social distancing, and you could post that during this period, we will assist seniors with registration, and maybe have some simple flyers about, you know, a simple flyer with the vaccine information, but you can sit there with a laptop and enter it and take their information right off of a Wi-Fi network and hook them up that way. So they don't have a computer, they don't have a smartphone, but they're there. My only concern would be the social distancing aspect of it. You want to have a crowd of people standing next to you, but even that's kind of the town square for us, unfortunately, but that might be an opportunity.
You know, unless somebody on our board has already been vaccinated and feels comfortable doing that.
I don't mind doing it. I just, you know, as long as you keep that 6 feet off the table.
then
You
we
know
can-
what, I want to reach out to the councilman's office, and I want to reach out to Barger's office and just see what their recommendation is, just to get their feedback, because they might have something already implemented. But I think that as long as we give proper directions to the community, it helps. I know Becky has her hand up.
My question was already answered.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to go to Michael
Oh,
Ward.
David, I'm sorry.
Yes.
What I wanted to say is, I just wanted to thank Jason because he was an angel. And he did it without me even asking. He called, and then I referred a friend, and I know a few other people. And how I did it is I don't feel comfortable giving out his phone number, but you know, I did Jason Hector at PRNC.org, and that's how they got in touch with him, so he could do it at his convenience. Just to let you know how we kind of worked it out with a couple people already.
Great. Jason, thank you. Michael Ward, good to hear from you. Please unmute yourself.
Hello, how are you doing, David?
Good, Michael. Good to hear from you.
Nice to hear from you as well. Hey, I've got an idea, and I know you guys are very busy, and I can imagine Jason probably enjoys doing the appointments, but we got a lot of high school students, maybe some middle school students who need community service hours or want to do community service and can't do it because of the current situation. This seems like a great idea if you guys could organize some resources on that front to have, you know, some high school students and middle school students making these appointments, because they're a lot more tech savvy. I can tell you that. I've got 4 boys, and they're all much more tech savvy than I am.
We'll hire Chloe.
So that's my suggestion.
Thank you, Michael. So here's another thought on top of that, because that's a great idea. You know, if we decide to go down that avenue, you know, we can purchase Mojo or Call One, and that turns into almost like an office. And when somebody calls in, they would be able to listen to an informational comment from the board as to where they can get assistance. But if they wanted to have somebody make an appointment for them, all they would have to do is push 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. There's numerous extensions, and then somebody would be able to pick it up. Just a thought.
David, the chat question, you want Jason to attend to it maybe?
Where is it?
You want me to read it?
Yeah,
When you
go ahead.
say they'd like 25% of kindergartners back, is it only that grade K to 5 or just one?
Yeah, it's just kindergartners. They're starting with the young ones first. Most likely because they are concerned about the impact of distance learning on the youngest populations. But yeah, it was just kindergarten, I believe. Let me see. They're trying to get the kindergarten. Oh yeah, 25% of, they're focusing on elementary, but I thought they said just kindergartners.
It's actually a special need next.
Well, right now, yeah, right now special needs are going back, but
Right.
I wrote here April 9th, they sent 25% of elementary. I believe they're targeting to try and get 25% of the elementary school kids back, but I believe it's the younger kids. It's not, I don't think it's like the, you know, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th grades.
Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we
I
hold
wish,
off on this conversation?
yeah,
I'll be more than
Tara,
happy to reach out to Mary Melvin or Avak, or Jason can reach out to the principal at Castle Bay, and we can have them at our March meeting. And we can get factual information without guessing to what really is going to come. But I will tell you, I do know that special needs are coming back first.
Right, next week, you are right.
There's also, Sherry Dearhuntington says also Granada Hills Charter School currently has the kids with special needs. There you go, special needs as well.
Right.
Okay, on that note, let's go ahead and move on to item number 7. Assad?
Yes. Good evening, everybody. So this is a discussion about the draft policy governing the use of social media by the neighborhood councils. The titled Proposed Resolution by the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners approving the digital communication policy for the neighborhood councils. And you all got the URL, and many of you has already attended the multiple meetings the past 4 months. This issue is important to all of us actively involved in the NC system throughout the whole city of LA. And it governs the conduct and posting of both the board members and the stakeholder committee members on Nextdoor, Facebook, other media channels. With that, let me share the screen.
And before you move on, would you please make it known that we have very little input on that at this time?
Right. Yeah, it's the second slide. So basically,
Thank
yeah.
you.
So
They also
basically,
Ask anything. So it's not
right.
required at this time.
Right. So this is the first draft, and this is the title. The first version all of us seen was September 29, 2020. And this is where it resides in the Empower LA website. Many of us at the Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council attended a lot of the meetings and have got familiarized with what they are discussing and all that. So this policy is a draft only at this time to be implemented if adopted by all the 99 neighborhood councils. This policy is not established by the Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council. It's not endorsed at this time by the Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council. And it's being presented here today by the PRNC Safety Committee just to get the board members whom haven't attended into these meetings the past 4 months and the community stakeholders to be informed and involved. The comments, suggestions, the objections, whatever you want to say about it in opposition or in agreement, to go to feedback@empowerla.org. And if you could, and that's for the stakeholders really, if they could have a courtesy copy to board@prnc.org, it will be great, so that at least we are familiar what's the feeling in our community in regards this citywide policy. PRNC, after this discussion today, can determine later at a different date if they want to do a CIS by the board or not. And this is not for today's discussion. It's just if any committee feels they want to do a CIS, then they can bring it to the general meeting. There is no timeline for adoption at this time. Originally in September, they were targeting 90 days, but somehow the 90 days became now undefined, undetermined. Also, it was brought to our attention the legislation, the AB 992, which took effect in January 1st, 2021, is going to be affecting a lot of this draft proposal. And along the line, if adopted, it is going to be within the bounds of the AB 992. The link here is provided to us by Empower LA to show the different versions of the AB 992 so that we all learn the way the legislation got to wherever it is today in regulating and establishing guidelines on open meetings and the social media. I'm going to go quickly through the first 7 sections because they are really nothing much to comment on. So section 1, it's defining what's the role of the neighborhood council, and basically they extracted from the charter what the neighborhood council is all about and why it's established, all 9 of them, and what is expected and how it's bound by the charter. Number 2 is defining what the policy is going to be directing, which is basically putting sort of a guidelines of what to do in the media and what not to do. And the whole idea of the policy is to expand from what already we are doing as a neighborhood council to include what we're doing as board members outside the neighborhood council. The scope shows a lot of how to manage and develop and maintain the accounts and the websites. For us, PRNC, we already have a website, we already have a newsletter, and we already have people trained to doing it. So in a way, it's not affecting us. And they are trying to, in 3.2, to establish that it is addressing the digital communication account of the neighborhood council and the platforms and the tools. Terms and conditions, it's very broad. I mean, which is defining the policies, is telling you you can have a website, you can have social media, and in the social media, they almost listed everything. And hold on, okay. I lost you for a minute, my internet snapped. And then they add the term, but are not limited to, so that whatever old technologies and new technologies, whatever technologies we end by the time they adopt this is included under the umbrella of the law. Number 5, section 5 addresses the responsibilities of the administrator and the account moderator responsibilities, which is at this time, it's Lori. And in the absence, it defines in 5.2 that the president of the neighborhood council is in charge, and it leaves all the responsibility, and anything happens, all is on the 2 of them. 6 gives the guidelines for the neighborhood councils that doesn't have a website already. So for us, PRNC is not going to have much, and it's really a template of what you include and what you don't include. They might along the line update the way we do the website, but I don't see that happening for at least probably a year or two after the adoption of this policy. Then in number 7, they get into the design, and 7.1 is an important point in which if you're referring to any actions by the mayor's office or the EMD or the LA Fire Department and all that, they suggest that you just add the link rather than cut and paste the language. And the reasoning they give for that is, if you add the language and then along the line, the entity decide to change something, well, guess what? Your website has the old data. However, if you put the link, then whatever the stakeholder clicks on it or the board member wants to reach that, they will always be directed to the most updated information. And everything we present on behalf of the city must be clear and visible with the same ID. So sections 1 and 7 is very self-explanatory, but if anybody feels they have need any clarification, I can spend a minute here. If not, I can go to the next one. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
On section 3, can you go back to section 3?
Yes.
Okay, so this one here seems to imply that it's the neighborhood council's platform that you're working off.
Yes. And that's part of the one section I'm going to start in a minute, section 8.
Then later, doesn't it later, it says something like to the effect that our personal accounts.
Yeah, that's section
personal-
9. Yes.
Yeah.
You're jumping ahead.
Okay, good. And then, let's see, I had another question. Can you go back to, I think it was 6? Oh, was it 6? Like, keep going. Let's see.
This is 6.
Wait, go back. Let me see.
Account administrator who keeps the
no.
passwords and all that.
Okay, never mind. Never mind.
Okay. So section
Thank
8.
you.
Okay, you're welcome. So good questions. We surely will be answered somehow. Section 8 starts by addressing your current owned media, and that is our PRNC.org, our Twitter account, our Facebook, our Nextdoor, whatever we have. And basically, it starts by that whatever you publish is bound by the city charter. Whatever is in there, we have to check if there is a question mark with the city attorney. We have to always abide by the city rules and policies, and we don't act outside the norm. Also in 8.2, it says that the content you put, it must be accurate. You cannot come out and say, let's say, oh, we found the magical formula for COVID-19, and here it is, or something like that. You have to stick to the facts, and you have to more be providing the information that is within the guidelines of the Done and Empower LA. 8.3 start touching in on the Brown Act. And 8.3, I give you the most basic example, which we're already doing it. Let's say I sent you the email a couple of days ago to tell you about today's meeting. So if you reply all saying, Assad, where is the attachment? Or Assad, the link is not working, then that's okay to reply all. However, you're not expected, or you shouldn't be replying on, I'll say, oh, whoever is gonna get vaccinated is this, or you're gonna say, wow, I love vaccination, let's do it. You cannot give any reply all to anything to do with the email of any discussion coming to the board. And it is, all of you got to the training, and this is just stressing out. The first item I could think of not to discuss is that. The other item would be if you do a Nextdoor posting, then you make sure you block the discussion, because you don't want to start a discussion on your own items. You don't want to have any Facebook, we don't have this capability at this time. But this is where 8.3 getting that you have to limit to stay within the bounds of the Brown Act. and all discussions to be within the bounds of the meeting. 8.4 gets to the prohibition on confidential information. You cannot go ahead and share to the public whatever you have access to. Like in the case Lori right now, the secretary, she would go ahead and publish all our private phone numbers or whatever address, where we live, where we work, things like that. 8.5 comes to the point where it relates to campaign-related purposes, and you cannot be advocating for a candidate. You cannot be advocating for a ballot coming up or for discussion. For example, right now, PRNC.org cannot be used for the incumbents to be as a platform for re-election. However, 8.5 give you some allowance. You could do something like this. You could point the public to the city website, the lacity.org, about the NC election. And any stakeholder in the city of LA could use any NC and find all the candidates. This is not in violation. This is acceptable by the city. So that's where they have the thin line, to walk or not to walk on it. 8.6 is self-explanatory. Anything copyright protected, you cannot use it on the website unless you get the permission of the author. 8.7 touches again, but it's unclear, 8.71, on the political candidate or the measures. It gives you limited extent permitted by the law, but that's not a definition. Items 2, 3, 4, it's clear, no sexual content, no obscene sexual content, no discrimination, no commercial nature. You don't encourage illegal activities and so forth. And 8.8 touch on the basis of if you're gonna have, let's say, advertising, something like we have always done, that the YMCA is doing this event and we're promoting the event. And let's say in the event there is gonna be selling products or offering services and all that, we need to have a disclaimer that, we're putting it on this page. However, we're not endorsing the products or the services. And again, this is, more of the outreach committee guidelines. So that's section 8. The controversial one.
Before you move on, Assad, I'm sorry, can you go back to that one there? The last bottom one there?
Yes.
So it says that you must include this disclaimer. So if we are going to promote, we're using YMCA as an example, then we must put that on the flyer. It doesn't matter if you're selling products. That's, you know what I'm saying? If we do the cleanup like we do normally, this must be on there. That's what they're saying now.
Right.
Any circumstances, it says here.
Exactly. So that this way you are protected, and if anything happens, the city is not liable for whatever happens in there. So this way you're protecting your own neighborhood council from what's going on. Number 9 is the most controversial one, and that's where almost, I think, in each meeting, 90% of the discussion is in this section 9. So basically, section 9.1 starts talking about if you, as a board member, gonna be publishing information on your own website, on your own Nextdoor, on your own Facebook, and how you can do it. So basically, if you wanna do like, for example, the email I sent you about tonight, I cut and paste that. So that content is fine because that's the content of the agenda. Then the next thing is, since I have included a link back to the agenda, and I'll have it here while I'm discussing it, there is a link back to the website, then it's acceptable. And as long as I blocked the ability on Nextdoor for any people to comment on it, then I'm not in violation. So 9.1, if you do this, it will allow you. The challenge that was brought to Raquel and everybody in the committee, the other commissioners, is Facebook will not let you do this. And how you're going to be, and some other, like Twitter will not allow you to do just an announcement without getting into a thread. So 9.1 is still being heavily discussed. And I don't know where it's going to get to. 9.2, it has to do with the usage of anything to do with the seal of the city of LA, the badges, the name of the neighborhood council, and that is outside the publications and whatever the neighborhood council own. I'll give you an example. This is our website. You have a nice picture. Jason is smiling, all happy and all that. This is great. This is fine in here. We're all wearing the badges. We're displaying Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council. However, and if Henry Stern or Supervisor Catherine wants to take the picture and post it on their website, it's fine. However, Jason, David, Mehran, Assad, Lori, and Brandy, we cannot take the picture and even have it on our mom's Facebook. I cannot even have it on a Twitter. That's what they're saying. Because of the fact you have a name tag that could be zoomed in and they see the city logo and all that. Isam, from the time where he left the neighborhood council, now he can use this picture because he's outside the bound. I'm just giving you a very simple example on how limited and what the limitations we're expecting. Then the third item, it's telling you that to deal with the confidentiality again. In which you cannot be posting on your own website confidential information you obtain. And I think I'll keep back to Lori. Sorry, Lori. Since she has access to the list, she has access to the constant contact. You know, she cannot go and get whatever data in there and post it on her website, on her own Twitter, because then she would be in violation of this. Next one is the 9.4, in which you are not supposed to, yes, David.
Don't kill the messenger. But would you mind holding off and or finishing this one up, and then we have Scott Schmilson, who was able to attend, and I think the community that's listening would possibly want to ask him some questions, since the going back to school is a priority, and then we can continue if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Is the board okay with that?
Yes.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you. Miran, let me bring Mr. Schmierlson in, and please accept my apology, but I think this is extremely important as well. Let me bring him in. Mr. Schmierlson, would you like to unmute yourself?
Okay, all right. Can you hear me?
Yes, thank you for
All right,
joining us
very
this
good.
evening.
Assad, I apologize for interrupting you. I really do.
No, we're waiting for you.
Thank
the
you.
floor is yours. The floor is yours.
I have an appointment to be on your Porter Ranch official meeting. Right now I'm on another Zoom, but I put them on mute. They don't know I'm talking to you. I just wanted to give you an idea of what's happening so far in LAUC and let you ask a couple of questions. So this is what's happening, okay? Believe it or not, we're getting closer and closer to coming back. This March 1st, all principals return to their site. This March 1st, all principals return to their site, number one. It may not sound like a big deal, but it is a big deal to me. The next thing is March the 4th, those people who are going to be involved with students coming back will be coming back on March 4th. So who am I talking about? I'm talking about clerical staff. I'm talking about people who will be doing childcare. I'm talking about people who are doing special ed. So that'll be on March the 4th, okay? So Mr. Buettner is hoping to bring all elementary back by April the 9th, just to have your list, all elementary by April the 9th. So there will be special programs in March the 4th. There'll be programs for special ed students. There'll be childcare for all workers at the school and others. And there will also be the highest need students in early ed who will be given tutoring, one-on-one tutoring and in the classroom. Also, when March 4th comes around, teachers who wish to may go back and they may Zoom from their classrooms. It's actually much easier to Zoom from your classroom than at home. They'll have all their supplies and all their things at the school. So little by little, people are going back. So again, in April, we'll begin to offer all these wonderful things and we're getting closer and closer, but I'll answer some questions the best I can, okay?
Mr. Carlson, this is Mr.
athletic
Balin.
training. Yeah.
I've got one question coming from a community member, and it says,
Sure.
they say, why is LAUSD refusing to reopen before all teachers are vaccinated? This is not required under any public health guidelines, and the data shows schools can be safely reopened now. Kids do not pose any scientific risk to teachers, and schools have not been shown to be a major vector of transmission. If you're going to say that every single teacher needs to be vaccinated before you get back to school, I believe, quite frankly, that's a non-working situation, says Dr. Fauci.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you want to make comment on that or not.
There is a large number of people who do have that opinion. And I believe that teachers who volunteer to go back will be allowed to do so, okay? But again, I'm telling you, the vast majority of parents and the vast majority of teachers are fearful of going back without the vaccination. And what I'm going to ask the district to do is to please put out a survey. And I know you guys are sick of surveys. I know you are, but we need an up-to-date survey. An up-to-date survey that says, will you send your children back or will you keep them for distance learning? And then at least we can know how many kids to expect and how many teachers we will need. It's a big problem. I mean, I was just on the board meeting, committee of the whole, and we had parent after parent after parent telling us they're going to sue us and they're going to put us in jail and we're violating the Constitution. And, you know, I understand they're passionate. They are really passionate. And they keep saying that the kids have to have inoculations. The kids don't get inoculations. There is no vaccine for children yet against COVID-19. So lots of false information is flying around the air. But I do know that we are starting to bring people back starting March the 1st. Childcare will start on the 4th, and special ed, one-on-one and all this other good stuff. The one-on-one special ed aides will be able to come back and work with the kids, of course, in the sanitized areas of the school, but it is coming back. When I am available again for your next official Porter Ranch, I will have more information. I'm telling you, David, this changes not day by day, minute by minute, minute by minute.
Do you have a minute for a couple? I see my board has a few hands up. Do you have a minute, or how much
I
time
have
do
a
you
minute and then I'll get back because I think you're going to get suspicious on my other Zoom. Go ahead.
Okay, we'll be quick. Lori, go ahead.
Yes, hi, Scott. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Sure.
My question is, if we do get all the elementary school students back in around April 9th, do we know if they're going to extend the school year further to catch up, or are they just going to continue with the typical school year?
Well, I believe, let me just add one more thing to your question. You know, there was a survey that went out. Do you want to have additional weeks of schooling in the beginning or in the end? And, you know, I'm telling you, my District 3 parents, the great majority said they don't want any additional schooling. They want their kids to be outside on vacation, visiting grandparents. So my suggestion to the district was to make it optional. You can make 10 Saturdays when school starts and have kids go back on 10 Saturdays if you wish, but that's another story. Your question, when elementary goes back, there was the big decision, should it be every other day, Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday teachers only and Thursday and Friday the new group? Or should it be afternoon and morning sessions? In other words, kids will go in the morning and then go home for Zooming in the afternoon and vice versa. So we're still working on that. But again, when you have cohorts of like 10 or 12, you have to know how many kids are coming back, to know how many rooms you need, to know how many teachers you need. So we are working on that minute by minute. So yes, they will go back, and they'll go back even, I have a feeling it's going to be morning and afternoon. That's my guess. That's my guess.
I don't want you to fall behind on your other meeting. I know we have lots of questions here, so I will ask you guys to please reach out to Mr. Smirlson by his email.
You may.
And
call me. I don't
he,
care. Call me. It's okay.
Okay.
And I
Everybody
apologize.
call Scott at.
What about charter schools? That's all I want to know.
What about them?
Granada Hills. My son
yeah.
spent his senior
Well,
year in high school in a garage.
Yeah,
Miserable.
Granada Hills is interesting because it is a independent charter
Mr.
school, but the
Carlson,
teachers, yes.
Will there be a police presence in the schools when the children go back?
He was answering a question before you interrupted.
I've had my hand up for quite a while,
I have
David, and you.
Both you guys.
I'm
Scott,
sorry,
please-
I'll answer
Scott,
both.
please go ahead.
I'm sorry, ladies first, David, ladies first, okay. Well, you know, I think for some reason the district doesn't like school police anymore. I sure do. And I believe that school police is going to be posted in the community of schools, like the Chatsworth, Canoga Park, that way. And they're going to be stationed there. And they're supposed to be able to respond to an emergency in 5 minutes. I don't believe it. I do not believe it. And my board members, the nerve would not allow principals to opt in for a school policeman. They said, officer. They wouldn't allow it. No, you cannot choose. I said, is that democracy? You cannot choose. But anyway, the answer is they'll be at the community of schools and not at the actual school. Back to David. David, Granada Hills, you know, their teachers are represented by UTLA. So they're going by the UTLA guidelines. I kind of feel sorry for Brian Bauer because he's stuck between a rock and a hard place. He's running an independent charter school with a unionized staff, which is UTLA. I don't know how he's going to do it, to be honest with you. I really do. I can't answer for him.
Thank you.
Okay.
Scott, it's
Thank you,
Gabriel.
Mr.
Sorry,
Smirlson.
one more thing real quick.
Sure.
No,
Gabriel.
he's gonna go. We're done.
Yeah, Gabriel's
you.
the last one. Okay.
Go ahead then, Gabriel. Gabriel, go ahead.
Thank you. You muted me, so I couldn't talk. Anyhow, my question to you is, everything you just said, is it based on what LAUSD is saying or UTLA? Because UTLA has been the one behind blocking
No.
all the kids from going to
No.
school and etc.
This is from the mouth of the superintendent.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Call me, write me, email me. It's okay.
What,
Will
Mr.
do.
Smirlson, what number is a good number for people to
Oh,
call you?
I'm not telling you. I'm not telling you. I'll tell
I
you.
didn't think so. I'll give the
David,
number
that
after
is
you
a
leave.
public question.
It's the-
That is a public question.
It's the 241-8333. That's Cynthia Ronquillo, my fantastic administrative assistant. The patience of Job. She's so sweet. 213-241-8333.
Mr. Smirlson, thank you for giving us some
No,
time today. We'll
thank
catch
you.
you on our Wednesday meeting, second Wednesday
Okay.
of
I
March.
may need an excuse note, but thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smirlson.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
My pleasure. Goodbye.
All right. So once again, board, and I'm going to reiterate this for the last time. It is disrespectful to speak over somebody else. And I will not reiterate myself because I will ask you to leave the meeting. So until you are unmuted and asked to speak, I would like you to sit back, stay muted until it's your turn. Thank you. Assad, finish your presentation.
Thank you, Mr. President. Okay, let me share again. Okay. Do you have me on the screen? Let's see. Yes. Okay, you have me on the screen, everybody? Yes? Yes. Okay, so So basically 9.4 addresses the issue in which you're gonna be violating the Brown Act by taking position on items that is in the purview of the Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council, and you're gonna be taking it from their perspective, your perspective, whoever's perspective, and will be posting it in private or non-neighborhood council website, social media. And sort of like you could say, well, this item is coming up. I would like to see, do you oppose or do you support? You know, on the front end, it looks very simple, non-harmful. However, you're getting an opinion here on an item that's coming, and that's basically where they want to stop. So like they go into 9.41, and it's more of like it goes beyond the simple example I got you. I mean, the other neighborhood councils have horror stories that we heard within the meetings when they were discussing the 9.41. And at the bottom line, they are saying you have to be publishing accurate information within the guidelines and the bounds, and you cannot be just putting out your own version of what you think it is. Now, when they get to 9.42, and that is, I think a lot of us already do that, but it's very simple. Let's say I'm attending a meeting to do with the Alicia Canyon shutdown, and I need to make a statement. So if I'm not making it on behalf of PRNC, then clearly I would say, I am making this as a resident of Porter Ranch on behalf of my wife and 2 daughters, and continue. So that this way, you're isolating any liability on the Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council, unless you're authorized to speak. Like you're a couple times, if you remember in the past, we gave Isam permission in which he goes and present on behalf of the Neighborhood Council. Or, you know, in the future, if there is anything, we would say the ad hoc monitoring committee go and discuss solutions, bring up ideas, something like that. Now, this is where the items in the yellow, and I'm not going to be really getting into it because if we get into it, I think Jason estimated we will need 2 hours. Probably we'll need 3 weeks to discuss the 3 items in the yellow. Mostly other neighborhood councils were not comfortable with the word may come. What it is, it's if there is an item that is, you think, going to come as an agenda item, or pending, we know pending is very self-explanatory, but may come is a big question mark. And that limits a lot on the community, because let's say they are discussing something and we gave an opinion on it. And then since we gave an opinion and we discussed it in our own website, it will violate it from being offered as an agenda item in the regular meeting. And the same thing goes for 9.44, in which, let's say, for us, I'll use this again, the example, the ad hoc committee. If we go and say publicly, we like ABC vendor for their monitoring system, and we put likes for it all over the place in Facebook or Twitter and all that, then that company, if it comes in as a representative for a solution by the county or anybody, it cannot be agendized because it's in violation already and we messed up. 9.45, and you notice I put it within the red bound, is where I feel that's the bread and butter of the whole pages you have in order, whatever it is. This is clearly saying if there is any pending item, you know there is a meeting, let's say in March, and David sent it in and there is an item. And then you go ahead and start creating and as I put in pink, creating the appearance of a conflict or something. Let's say we don't want this park. This park is not good. And let's say if you don't want to do it yourself, you go and grab some people from the community and stir the ball about it before it gets to board, then this will not work for the benefit of the community. It will affect the performance. And you cannot logically discuss any item if it comes in. Any one of us, the 11, could go in and say, we don't like this item. And I'll give an example. Up to date, our utility boxes is being, discredited and all that. We even got attacked for the horses that Northridge did, on Nextdoor, and the people saying, oh, this Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council, they put ugly horses and all that. And I was like, people, you're creating a conflict. And sometimes, if it's the stakeholders, then I understand. Maybe they don't know the bounds and all that. But the issue that they are trying to address here is that it's initiated by one of the board members. And it got very ugly in the neighborhood councils in downtown area, because it ended in street fights and guns and knives and all that over little item that's coming on the agenda and created a conflict. So this is where almost the whole document is on that. 10 is regular comments, which is basically how do you comment and allow and disallow. And basically they recommend either you allow a blog on your website and deal with it, and then you abide by attachment A, which is at the end, or the easy solution, you just use your website for information. Post the information, don't discuss it, don't deal with it, don't give opinion, and this way you're on safe grounds. And the whole area in 10 deals with, regardless if this is this media policy or not, this is part of what the city charter and part of how you deal with the public. 11 deals back to Lori, security and privacy. Since she gets all the information, she had to make sure the passwords safe, the constant contact database is safe, and not to be, shared with anybody. And she's the custodian of the records. So basically 11, just maintaining that the neighborhood council must be running a tight ship. Same thing goes for the record retention, and 12.2 address really to the stakeholders. If you're gonna send an email to board@prnc.org, and then at the end you sign your name, phone address, and telephone number, well, guess what? That's now not private anymore. That's public, because our emails are subject to the California Public Record Act. If our emails get subpoenaed, guess what? Your name and phone number and all that is part of the public. So it's more of really explaining and protecting the neighborhood council for any people coming and say, why did you release my phone number and address? Well, I didn't. You volunteered it to the email. And this deals with the notice to third parties and basically endorsing products, something like that. And you say, oh yeah, the PRNC would like to buy this light because it's the best light in the world, or something like that. 14 gives which laws, regulation, and policies they are going after. The first one, of course, is the First Amendment. We all have to be bound by the First Amendment. So the media policy is trying to find the line where not it's crossing the First Amendment, which is, in my personal opinion, it's mission impossible. The First Amendment is so broad, you cannot be cut and pasting and choosing out of it. And it's preventing, prohibition on lobbying, the Brown Act, of course, the California Public Records, the conflict of interest law, the city charter, the commission policies, and the last one is the neighborhood council bylaws. Attachment A deals with if you have a blog on your, yes.
Before you move ahead, I know Jason had a question. I don't know if you want to finish
Yeah,
or you want to go back.
I'm gonna go in there in just in a second.
Okay, go ahead.
So attachment A deals with you have a blog, how to deal with it, if there is obscenity, how you take it off and all that. And okay, Jason, you want me to go back somewhere?
Oh, no, I'm good. Just,
Oh.
are you almost done? No, I was.
Yeah, I'm
gonna
almost
ask
done.
you When
2
you're finished
minutes.
with your presentation.
Yeah, 2 minutes and then I'll hand it for you and then the stakeholder questions. All right. Personally, I think the only item that I keep pushing Raquel and Empower LA, it's not addressing cyberbullying in any form. It's not addressing anything to do with the cyberbullying via email, on the website, harsh words on Nextdoor, on Facebook, and all that. And personally, if one of the board members is going to recommend we do CIS, my only add-on will be that there must be a language to stop the cyberbullying, because this document takes you everywhere except it doesn't go where it should gone, which is stopping cyberbullying. Now, my co-chairs, David and Gabriel, and then this is my recommendation, that we get, we go in the alphabetical order each 2 minutes, but it's up to David. He's the boss. The floor is yours now, David. You start with your comments, Gabriel, and then go ahead.
I have no comment at this time, since this was just a presentation. But I know Jason has a question, so I'm going to go to Jason question.
I don't have a question, just some comments, and thank you for the presentation, Assad. You did a lot of work on this, and this is a big task to undertake. So I commend you for
thank you
for going through it and presenting it to us. And the AB 992 looks very interesting. It passed, and so I think maybe that's going to cover a lot of these issues, right? So like some of that, and so I think as a board, we want to think, what do we want to address specifically? Maybe, 1 or 2 things, but if the Brown Act stuff is going to be addressed by AB 992, then maybe, that's not an issue. But I wrote down a couple sections, 8.3, 8.5, 9.2, let's see, 8.3, okay, oh yeah. Okay, yeah, this is the Brown Act. So I guess, perhaps this AB 992 will cover it. So maybe to the extent you can see how much of those issues would be covered. And then the next one, the 8.5, that's fine, skip that one. Go to 9.2 if you don't mind, please. Thanks. Let's see. Oh, okay. So I appreciate your interpretation, but I think it's helpful to reference back to the language in the document, because I don't believe like the example you gave with the picture there, because I think the intent of this 9.2 is like if you're putting the seal on your, see, it says you have to read the text here, is permitted. It's the word display of, in other words, you're displaying the city logo, for example, if you're displaying, and I don't think the interpretation is that you're wearing a shirt with the city logo. I think that when you read the text of this,
badge and patch.
No, I get it.
Yeah, and the reason I know that, because when I did the CD12 elections, this is extracted from the same thing. I had to go on each picture that I have the city logo here, either to remake the picture or physically remove it. I couldn't wear my city hat. I couldn't do a lot.
I see how you could interpret it that way, but I don't necessarily interpret it that way. But I think this is something that needs a little more clarification.
Exactly.
That 9.2.
Exactly.
I just want to say something about First Amendment. I know First Amendment is a big talking point. People want to protect their First Amendment rights, and I get that. And so the question becomes, to me, a legal question. The legal question becomes, where do we have our First Amendment rights? Do we have our First Amendment rights on our personal account still? Or now, because we're public officials, that our First Amendment rights are limited on our personal account? And also, I would argue that we as board members are held to a higher standard. So do us being, public officials now have to be held to a higher standard? And then, just on a recommendation going forward, we have to be very distinct between our personal accounts, and that if you're going to talk about issues that are under the purview of the neighborhood council. So the purview of the neighborhood council would be issues that we commonly address, issues in the community, that those messages should not really come through on your personal account. This is my understanding. They should be coming through, Lori can put them on our, Nextdoor account if there's something, that would be under the purview of the neighborhood council. So I don't think it's overly broad. I know people want to say anything that might come to the board. We're going to send a rocket to Mars, that could come to the board, right? No,
Right.
I don't argue that. I think that it's within the purview of the board, the purview of Porter Ranch, and it is more narrow than people will try and make it believe. So that's my comment on that. When they say anything coming to the board, I think it's within the purview of the neighborhood council. And so those would be my comments.
So,
Right, and
Assad, I
for
want to go back
point-
to,
this is for point in one.
9.2.
Yes, and
And my question is, I
14.1,
know
yeah.
that numerous times we see people with logos, city logos on their vehicles. So, I mean, what really could happen to a member of an NC that displays, the city logo on their vehicle, because it's on the second sentence, apparel or vehicle? Are we not allowed to use a city logo on vehicles?
Right, so I'll give you example.
Uh-huh.
And this is because this is a lot of it, the language came from the campaign. And I think maybe, I don't know if you remember or not. I have pictures with the CPAB car, with the city logo next to me. I wasn't allowed to use it in the campaign because of the city logo. I have pictures with the city helicopter, the LAPD one. Because of the city logo, they don't allow you to use it in the elections. So they extracted that language as is, brought it in here, and they just said, you cannot use it. Let's say right now in our re-election, I cannot be posting on the website pictures that show the city logo, even though my 32 years of career on service, every single picture I own has a city logo. You know what I'm saying? So here, this needs clarification, needs discussion with the city attorney, and it's the whole nine.
I'll reach out to Stephen Hutchin, because I'm very curious on that, just to keep people out of hot water. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
And and if you remember in the bank, they made a big issue about 9.2 and 9.5. They made a lot of, we discussed that at 3 meetings. In each meeting, they go 9.2, 9.2.
It says non-neighborhood council website. It says non-neighborhood council website. On any private or non-neighborhood council website.
I got that, but I'm curious about, displaying the city logo on vehicles. That's my only concern.
It's too broad.
Right. No, I get that. So.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's way too broad, and it's two-way.
And I think that's why Bonk and everybody, they're trying to redefine this, and they're still working on it. So I get it.
Yeah, exactly. As regards to Jason's question, the 14.1 sort of touches on the First Amendment. It says, in addition, private or personal accounts containing discussion of neighborhood council business might be deemed as public forums subject to the First Amendment. And then again, they use the word might. When you put may and might, that's like you're opening the ocean for interpretation. It could go either way. The word may is very powerful. I mean, recently I spent an hour with Gabriel discussing the effects of the word may, which way it goes, which way it doesn't go. So even here, when they tell you might or may, it's really putting a gag order with no limitation, and which is unfair for any neighborhood council.
But
All the 99.
I don't think that 14.1 is actually imposing anything on us, though. Go back to that. That's just referencing the First Amendment, but it's not imposing any restrictions on us. That's my understanding. See how it says just other laws, regulations, and policies?
Right.
It's just
but there
referencing other laws. It's not saying that, it's not giving like specific rules for us like these other sections are.
Right. Indirectly, they reference back to 9.41 and to the, what do you call it? 9.3, is it? Yeah.
So Lori has a question.
Go ahead, Lori, please.
Yes, if you could go back to 8, I think it was 8.5.
Yes.
Okay, so 8.5, my concern is item 3. So if you're in the meetings coming forth, maybe you can clarify this for me. References to a campaign schedule or activity of any candidate. Would this preclude us from advertising our candidate forums, for example? Because that would tell the
No,
public where this
right.
candidate's going to be.
Okay, so let me answer that.
Yeah,
if you
go
don't
ahead,
mind.
David.
I've spoken to Gibson, and we're good to support a candidate forum that doesn't come into play for this. For whatever reason,
Right.
we're good.
Yeah, and what it is, Lori, is like I gave you this
I
example.
think they're,
Like you cannot say there is a meet and greet for David
But-
Lasher.
yeah,
You cannot say, oh, come to Starbucks and have questions to our current incumbents, because then you're disadvantaging the others. However, you could say we invite all the candidates to come to Starbucks and we invite all the community to come and meet with them. Because now you're dealing in the general, all the candidates, and you're not limited, you're not giving advantage to the current incumbents over the newcomers. That's the whole idea. Even let's say you want to add resumes, if you put a PDF of everybody's resume in one file, you're not in violation because it's all placed in one document in one area. But to be on the safe side, always refer back, what they are saying in 8.1. Refer to the city and give the URL and let the city deal with whatever is in the URL, and then your neighborhood council has no liability.
So before we reach out to Jason, would you please answer a question from Sherry Darhanian? Please unmute yourself.
Oh, you want me to go now to the stakeholders? Okay.
Sherry?
David, you need to do it.
I know my computer's dying. 1 second, please.
I can do it if I go off the share.
No, I'm good. Give me 1 second. Thank you.
Okay, so I'll put it now next to the stakeholder.
Sherry,
So
go
to
ahead.
yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing all these important things up. I was on many bonk and bank meetings as well. And I think what Commissioner Len Schaefer brought up about neighborhood council people and why they should keep their personal accounts, personal blogs, personal Facebook, Twitter, whatever it is, if you don't discuss any subject at all that has to do with the neighborhood council, you're safer because all it takes is one stakeholder answering you. And then because it's a community issue and you happen to be a neighborhood council representative representing that neighborhood council district, it can open your personal account, your personal Facebook, your personal Twitter, whatever, to a Public Records Act. And make it so that that is no longer a personal account because you hold office as a neighborhood council representative. That's the main reason that Mr. Schaefer was imploring people not to discuss community things on their personal accounts. It's more than just not doing the purview of what might come up, like traffic on Cessnon or a street light or something like that. It's to protect yourself so that you don't make your personal account into a public account by mentioning community affairs. There's a real distinction there that Len Schaefer explained about 10 times in about 4 different meetings. And that's a nuance because you don't want your personal Facebook or Twitter or whatever account as a neighborhood council member to become public record. Thank you.
Thank you. Assad, you take it back to the community, please. I mean, to the board.
Right. I think we have Mehran next. Mehran, you have raised hand.
I think it was Jason, by the way.
Oh, Jason still? Okay.
Let me run go because I've already spoken.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I said I'm reading all this. How do we deal now with the attacks on PRNC on Nextdoor, for example? If you read carefully on what you are mentioning, how we can apply and implement to stop attacks on each other.
It's a tough one. It's David. You want to attempt that? He's asking how can we deal with the way we recommend at this time is ignore it. I mean, look, everybody, and Jason, I don't mean to put you on the thing. Everybody is like going left and right on utility boxes. They are nice, they are beautiful. I mean, but then we have.
I don't agree, Assad. I'm sorry.
No, we have two of them.
A lot of positivity, and I don't think you're correct because if you look at the comments and the overall, but you can go ahead and finish, but you keep,
so I'll use something
saying that, but I don't agree that we're getting a lot of negativity. There's a small group of people maybe who are not happy with certain boxes or the project as a whole, but
let me save everybody. Let me save everybody on this discussion, please. When you answer to social media, you open yourself up, okay? And I highly recommend, Dunn would recommend, the city attorney would recommend to not reply and to ignore, because you have to understand stakeholders have every right to pass judgment, tell you how they feel. And as elected officials, we are supposed to bite our tongue and let the stakeholders say their piece. Now if it goes the same thing when it comes to the board, but if you reply, you've opened yourself up, and I guess the only thing I can really tell you is you'll get what you deserve. So I would highly recommend to all board members, think before you respond to somebody.
Yeah,
go ahead.
And right, and exactly. So next
you
door.
Notice I have not replied to any.
I know.
I have not made one comment about the boxes, even though this is, a project that came through our committee, and that's the best practice. What David is saying is just.
And then, Jason, you should claim the horses. Then you should claim the horses as yours now. No, I mean, and personally been following David's advice. Even I'm a lead. I've been ignoring.
Is it my turn now? We're on finish,
okay.
Right?
No, I was answering you, but okay, go ahead.
Go ahead,
yeah, no, I think Miran brings up a good point. How do we deal with people criticizing? I think David responded correctly that we, need to have kind of a hands-off approach, and that we don't use our personal accounts. This is the most important point. We don't use our personal accounts to discuss neighborhood council business. All neighborhood council business should go through our neighborhood council channels, which are, now we have Nextdoor, and we have, well, everybody knows our channels. But I wanted to talk about the cyberbullying. You know, I appreciate you bringing it up. I think we need more details on the cyberbullying. So who does it apply to is the first question. So is it, are you, when you say cyberbullying, are you saying that other stakeholders are bullying us? Or are you saying that board members are bullying stakeholders? So just a little clarification on that. I mean, you don't have to answer me, but I'm saying,
No, I could.
if you want to create a policy for cyber, if you were saying that this lacks addressing cyberbullying, right? You were saying that
Right.
that this doesn't address it, and I think that perhaps like a code of conduct or a code of civility would be the way that this would be addressed, right? Because a lot of what the cyberbullying is you know, intimidation, or you know, threats upon other people, or you know, maybe obscene remarks, or you know, racial remarks. So those type of things should be addressed through our own bylaws, our own rules,
Standing rules.
standing rules, and that, you know, that is incumbent upon us as board members to not bully others. And if stakeholders bully us, I'm not sure there's anything we can do about it.
There's
What are we gonna
absolutely
do
nothing
about
we
it?
can do.
Exactly.
That's
No,
what we take. It's just
and
like
I
our
tell you-
councilman or any councilman who is in office, or our supervisor or anyone else. They come in, you know, Colin comes to our meetings and he takes the heat, you know, because that's the position that they signed up for.
I will tell you one thing, board and community. LAPD does not take cyberbullying lightly, and that goes from our elementary on up. So if cyberbullying escalates to a level and somebody turns it over to LAPD, then it becomes an offense. And that, you know, and then they turn it over to the detectives, and they proceed as they would proceed. But cyberbullying on all levels, from elementary on up, will not be tolerated by anybody. I know Becky had a question.
Yeah, and then I'll
comment.
answer Jason. Okay.
You go ahead.
Jason, we're going to kind of circle back a little bit about the boxes. I had a question that people have been asking me. The board voted on the boxes. After we voted on the boxes, were there changes made that not by you, but like maybe by the city? Because there were some things added to those boxes that had not occurred until after.
The board voted for the beautification committee to do a public art project for up to $4,000.
No, I know that.
So
but
Can we
that's what
discuss
was
that in the general, please, David?
was the design, could I
Okay,
just speak, please? Was the design changed after we voted on it? Without our vote, not by
We
you,
didn't
but
vote.
by the city.
The
Do you
board
understand where
doesn't
I'm
vote
going
on
with-
the design.
Pardon me?
The board doesn't vote on the design.
What did we vote on?
The allocation of the funds for the public art project.
Oh, so
There
we
was
didn't,
a link,
so
sorry.
let me,
This is
Okay,
off
I
topic though,
I gotta
so
stop
yeah.
this for both of you. Unfortunately, I got board members that are giving me timeout, so if we can we bring this at the board meeting?
I'd like my question answered. I'd like
But
to.
I think we're in the middle, Becky, we're in the middle of
Okay,
discussing an item. Please,
Well, no,
Well, answer the question.
I have 3 board members asking me to
I
stop
know
this.
everyone's been talking. Can you just give me my time too? I'm
But
just
we're
asking a
talking about it, Becky, we're
I
talking
think
about an
I
item.
answered her question. Your question was, did we vote
No.
on the artwork?
Jason, you can answer it in the next item. You know, Becky, in the next
public
item
comment.
outside, yeah, in the public comment, ask Jason all the questions and we'll. So back to your cyberbullying. So yes, I, for one, have been cyberbullied through PRNC emails and through PRNC messages and through PRNC channels in addition to my personal Nextdoor and all that. Captain Burns and the city attorney is aware of it. I haven't continued much in the legal way because a lot of this came from neighboring neighborhood councils, board members. So at this level, we are all brothers, we are a team. Maybe we disagree on points, but at the end of the day, we should act as one team. And we're not going to agree on every single point, but the minute we leave this meeting, we have to be civilized to each other. We cannot be doing all that. So I cannot elaborate a lot on the cyberbullying because it's under investigation. But yes, I am a victim of cyberbullying because I'm a Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council board member. And I agree with you. We would like to have guidelines. And it pertains to board members or board members to other neighborhood council board members. Because at the end of the day, the policy dictates it's for board members and committee members from the community. So you are in the bounds of the neighborhood council. Stakeholder, well, in my work in public works, I hear all kinds of flavored words and just smile back. I'm in the same boat as Colin in daytime job. There isn't much you say. We're expected to listen to the complaints and address them. That's it. Any other questions on the media policy?
Miran has a question.
Assad, you are discussing I'm confident, or we need to come with an amendment about a prohibition against bullying and harassment between neighborhood council board members. There must be a policy that we can either amend it or we can send it in. I'm confident there is a way we can add that.
So I guess when we discuss the CIS in the future,
Right.
That's the discussion, that's why I said in the PowerPoint, today we're going to talk in the general presentation, because all it is, I am asking the board to be aware of it. And hopefully I made enough case for you that we establish a sort of a CIS where we agree, where they disagree, or at least we could send them a CIS. We don't care. We read it and we don't care, no response. But we need to voice something. That's the whole point of tonight, that we must give something. I think you have in the attendees.
Yes, I have Michael Ward, but you were speaking. If you don't mind. Michael, please unmute.
Yeah, this has been really helpful, Assad. Thank you. But I'm going to maybe say something here that's going to be a little bit controversial. I think that obviously there's a policy in place, and somebody must have thought it was a good reason for something. But if it's just going to create an echo chamber within the Porter Ranch Neighborhood Council, meaning all you guys have to be beating to the same drum as the other neighborhood councils and as the CD12 and as the city council, then you guys are going to give up a lot of what you've earned through running for these neighborhood councils. I mean, I want to hear your guys' opinions, right? I don't want you guys all to be saying the same exact thing. I want you to be working on behalf of Porter Ranch, but I also want to hear what your opinion is in particular. And so, I mean, I'm going to encourage you guys to, read these rules, think about them, understand what the consequences are for not following them. It's probably good advice to set up a separate neighborhood council email or public official type email and accounts. But, I'm going to encourage you guys not to lose your voice or to only speak with one voice, because I want to hear what everybody has to say. So anyway, I look forward to the continuing dialogue, but, I encourage you guys to continue to say what you have to say publicly, especially. Thank you. Thanks, David.
Thank you, Michael. Always
Thank you,
good to hear
Michael.
from you.
Yeah, it's always good to hear you. And, just to elaborate on what you said, the media does not limit what we say here. Right now, we could say, of course, not slander, but whatever opinion we can give it here. We agree, disagree, as long as being recorded, transparent, that is public and all that. What they're trying to avoid that I just take my speech and whatever it is to my own personal website and do a propaganda against my colleagues and teamwork. So, yeah, go ahead.
I think if we don't have any other questions, I'd like to move on to the other item. But what I would like to do, if the board doesn't mind, I know that we have public comment, but I noticed when you set up the meeting, you didn't leave room for board comments. Would you mind if
Yes.
we added that in?
Go ahead, make it the same, make the agenda item board and board.
Because
and
I know
general.
there's
It's open.
some questions from the board that needs to be asked that's not on the agenda. So let's go ahead and open that up to, first we'll open it up to the community. Any comments? Not in the pure view of the board. I'll open that up. Okay, and now I'm going to turn it back over to the board for questions. And I know Becky had a question that she was working on that I wanted to bring back. So Becky, I'm going to open that up for you, please.
Is that the question about the boxes?
Yes, please.
Okay, I was just, so we didn't vote on the design. We just voted on donating money for whatever design that they came up with. Is that it? I just don't, just Jason, if you could explain it.
Sure,
It's not, and it's not a critical question. It's just a relevant question.
I understand. No, that's a fair question. So, and we discussed it at the meeting a while back. This was back when Nissan was president. Basically what happened is the 4,000 was approved for the beautification to do a public art project. That was the original motion. And then later, a few months later, a motion came up to increase that, but that was voted down. So the beautification committee met. That would be David and Miran and myself and Lori, not our Lori, Lori, our stakeholder. And we reviewed designs and we gave our input, but that's not exactly what's followed, because what's followed is 1111's decision, because we hired them to administer the project. So they took into consideration not only the votes from the community, but the comments made by the beautification committee. So everything was looked at as a whole, and then they decided on what their picks were, and then those went to the council office, to CD12, and then they looked at them, and then it also went to Cultural Affairs, Department of Cultural Affairs, and it also goes to LADOT. So just understand that it's not us, Becky, that's deciding. It's not like we are, if we've commissioned an artist, for example, if we allocated so much money to hire an artist to do something, then we would have full decision-making on that, right? Because we're writing the check, but this is a public art project. So the money, part of the money comes from the Public Art Fund, which CD12 administers. So we got money from them. We put in money, and Northridge West put in money as well for their boxes, and the city matched their money too. So we have like, we have some input, but it's not like we want this, we want that, and it's a call to artists. That's the other thing you have to understand. It's a call to artists. So the artists submit their drawings. We have no influence on what is going to be submitted. We don't know what's going to be submitted. This was during COVID, so we ended up getting a lot of, COVID related submissions. So we don't have any control on what artists out there are going to participate in the call to artists. So, this is a public art project. It's not like a a PRNC commissioned art project. And I think that's where a lot of the confusion becomes, because people feel like neighborhood council paid for it. You should get exactly what PRNC wants or what I want. You know, no, that's not what it was. If we went ahead and spent more money and commissioned an artist, then that would be a different scenario. So, you know, that's the answer. I hope that answers your question.
Well, it does. And you know what? The other thing it does, it clarifies the process, because I know you didn't select what was on the boxes. I didn't, the board didn't, Cultural Affairs probably did. And they're looking to us like we're the ones that made the decision. And the decision was, Assad, could you just let us finish? We didn't make the decision. The city and Cultural Affairs made the decision on really to finalize what they put on those boxes, is what you're saying. And
Well,
I thank you for the clarification.
yeah, it's not even like that one person makes a decision. It's almost
No.
like all the, you know, because like CD12 jumped in when there was a lot of, you know, feedback. And so the groups all work together. So Cultural Affairs works with the council office, works with us. We all have to kind of work together to come to, it's complicated. You know, it's not, one person does not make the decision unless you commission an artist.
Okay.
Then that would
Good.
be.
Thank you.
Assad, go ahead.
Right, so I'll share with you what happened. Very good question, Becky. So basically, the community in Northridge West and Porter Ranch received an email with this link. And in this link, there was a Dropbox link to show you the art.
Yes, that's how you would vote. Yes.
Right. So basically, anybody in Northridge, Porter Ranch, City of LA, whoever gets this, can go in and put their email. Then they select which neighborhood they're voting for. So they could have picked both, or they could have picked one, or whichever one. And then they go and pick 7 designers. And these 7 designers, at the time this was live, I tried it just now, it's not live anymore.
Not live.
You go and see their PDF and select it. So whoever participated in that ended in the scoring system. And whatever was in there, there is no control.
That's just information. So it's not like, it's
Right,
not
there's
like,
no control, exactly.
you know, there's many factors involved. Yes, this is how
Exactly.
this is how the community gave their input, but you know, it's.
Right.
I think we're getting way off topic because this is like a public comment, but I really wanted to answer Becky's question and.
Me too.
Yeah, and I think this will add to her that the first step, the people
This is how
went in.
This is what we
Yes.
sent out to the community so they could give their input. Yes.
Yeah. And thank
All right.
you. Thank you both.
Thank you. You can take that down. Thank you, Assad. Do we have any more comments or questions from the board before we conclude our meeting? Then on that note, anything from the stakeholders? I think we are good. I want to thank everybody and I wish you a good night and be safe and healthy. And Jason, you and I will talk to see how we can work together to get appointments for the community. I'll come up with some ideas. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Have a nice evening, everybody. Good night. Bye-bye.
Good night. Good
Good
job,
evening.
everybody.
Great job.